What?
Welcome back to Spaceless Realms. We're chilling here with your host and with me today, Kalki and Wolverine, Logan. It's a
Welcome.
pleasure to be here. Today, we're going to talk about a really important subject, which I think is extremely crucial and vital for all of us. We're going to talk about the youth of tomorrow, the youth of the future, the youth of the present, but the present is an illusion. Remember, in Buddhism, they tell you that the present is the only real thing. But what's very interesting there is you could go backwards and actually say that that's the illusion. Buddha said, question everything. But I would say the present is the illusion, because if you think about the present moment, everything I've said already is in the past. Everything I'm saying right now is going into the future. But the present, the moment, the micro-fractional moment of the present's existence does not exist. The present is the illusion. The past is what we should build upon, and the future is what we should care about, and that's the youth. So you hear maybe many different people talking about, like Wu-Tang says they're for the children, but at the end of the day, the music is not youth friendly. It's not for the future. They don't seem to care about the youth. They talk about trafficking, hard drugs, and a lot of things. A lot of the industry is like that. They like to claim that they care about youth. They like to claim that they care about women, that their music is just music. But really, what we need to remember is everything out there that we're doing on a daily basis should be for the youth, outside and inside of us. The youth that we grew up into, the rebellious teenager that we should still honor inside of us, the adulthood that we shouldn't actually be adulterous towards. The adulthood, which comes from adultery and betrayal, is actually the problem. It's a betrayal of the youth and the teenage self. We've talked about this a little bit before in previous podcasts, but I think it's very important for people to realize how oppressed youth are worldwide, especially for slave labor items, for food that we call food, the youth, the totems, the youth, the so-called pets that we have that are youth as well. You know, we have to realize that the youth, that's the rainbow tribes of the future. And in Khalil Gibran, many of you might be familiar with the book The Prophet. In Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, he has a chapter on the youth, and he talks about the health of tomorrow. The house of tomorrow is actually a really, really important concept, which at the end of the day, every youth out there should have. Every youth out there should have a house of tomorrow. They should have a place that's a safe space for them where they feel comfortable. And now many people might say, but there are like, youth centers and places like some of them are good. I remember iHuman in particular. Big shout out to iHuman, shout out to Mutant Academy and everybody who started that, everybody who did that, to Madam X, to the whole crew, to Bliss, to everybody, to Sadhu Militia, Sadvi Militia, to everyone who made themselves more accessible to youth as figures of influence, as artists, as activists, as educators. Shout out to Ronan Jedi, who brought me into Mutant Academy as well, to all the people from back in the days that I've reconnected with, to be, for reconnecting on an environmental level as well too, and caring about the planet, because that's what we have to leave as a legacy for the youth, is a better planet, not a worse one. We're living a mass extinction right now. And the best way to do that is to focus on the fact that they're the repository of wisdom, just like the elders on the opposite spectrum. They're the wisdom that we should be heeding. Now, many of you might be familiar as well too with what's been going on worldwide with some of the UN youth conferences, but people don't seem to take that seriously. Someone like Greta Thunberg speaks out, and all people are focusing on is the fact that she used to be 16 years old when she started speaking out on that matter on an international level, according to most sources. But we should not focus on the age of the person speaking. We should focus on A, their speech, and B, their intentions. Now, that proves to me that just like nobody really wants a really old, outdated computer, we're like the old, outdated computer. We need to heed the youth as the future. Otherwise, we're an illusion of a present that's already in the past, and we've passed our best days. If the youth inside of us would not be proud of who we are now, if the teenager inside of you would not be proud of who you are, if you've settled into adultery and adulation and betrayal because you have a 9 to 5 job and you're like, but I have to take care of my kids. Are you taking care of them? Are you caring about them? Do you listen to them? Or do you tell them to shut up and go to their rooms? Do you tell them all kinds of horrible things? Do you treat them like pets essentially, but then you start thinking you're good parents? And this is not a criticism towards everyone, but if the shoe fits, walk it. I think it's very important for people to realize how oppressed and abused, especially in so-called third world countries, the youth still are. And that starts with our everyday purchases. It starts with the way we treat ourselves, with the way we treat youth, with the way we treat this economy in a capitalist oligarchic society. So I'm going to let it be for a second and pass it back to Logan, but I hope you all know what I mean, and I'm sure you do. You there, Logan? Well, let's keep talking then. I think he's out taking a spliff break. So Let's talk about that. Marijuana can even be, some people might be criticizing the fact that I'm smoking indigenous ceremonial tobacco and marijuana right now. They'd say that's not youth friendly. What's very interesting is that youth has actually cured a number, or marijuana has cured a number of youth from health problems, from mental health problems, in all kinds of different cases, but it has to be high CBD marijuana. Phoenix tears, for example, has cured leukemia, cancer, 3,000 different diseases can be cured through that. If you go look at the telomere effect, which is a book by Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who's a 2007 Nobel Prize winner, you would realize that these so-called drugs are not drugs. There's been an inversion there. Plant medicines that have been used since ancient times as indigenous medicines have been demonized and turned into, put on the status of what we think drugs are. Meanwhile, chemical drugs are prescribed to youth, forced onto them, like Ritalin, like Adderall, like Dexedrine. Those are forms of crystal meth. Those are methamphetamines. Those are hard drugs with heavy side effects. They should never be given to youth. Now, we have to realize we're battling against an insidious system, which is massive. Many of you know that out there if you're holistic practitioners. But if you believe in big pharma industry, you're dead wrong, literally. And there's no reference there to anything else than what I meant.
Yeah, when you said like insidious system, like that's true in so many ways.
Mm-hmm. I grew up lucky enough to have a mother that didn't want to put me on pharmaceuticals, but she changed her mind later on. And now I'm on forced injections. But I know I could still be myself. It just takes a lot of medicines to heal me. A lot of good water, a lot of good nutrition, ITAL nutrition, vegan nutrition, a lot of natural
Yo,
medicines.
man, just wait till like when the sun comes up more and you'll be like sweating more and like having more of like a flow in your system. Yeah, like, I'm sure you'll be feeling a lot better once you get more sunshine.
Very true. Sorry, I'm just grabbing a match for a second.
Like, yo, man,
But
when we're
that's
together,
entirely accurate.
yeah, when we're together, we can like train outside, we can do tons of things like that.
Very good point. Yeah, no, and this is for those of you that don't know, we're going to be bringing the Spaceless Realms podcast to Quebec. So we're going to be chilling in this live Mutant Academy. Everybody is welcome to come here. It's a permaculture farm. You can come chill if you want to come woof, like, the woofing, like doing, some farm work exchange to come chill here. You can do that. You can come chill and just help with the house, with the Airbnb. All of you are welcome here because that's the whole point. The point is to make this place accessible to everyone indigenously and to decolonize the entire planet, but that's a long-term project. And the short term is that we can do that on a daily basis by shifting the way that we think about property, about ownership. Why do you think people say this is my possession, but then you get possessed? Properties usually should be restricted to properties of minerals, properties of people. If I have unique properties, that's great, but the property is not the land that I own. It's not a house that I own. This is an indigenous lodge. It's not mine, but I'm the keeper for the moment.
Wow.
Same thing when people talk about youth. They're not yours. We don't own youth.
Let's talk about honoring the youth inside us and like inside of everyone.
It's a really good point. And I think the most important way to do that is to be honest with ourselves, to look into a mirror. On a good day, fix yourself. Take the time to fix yourself. Look good for yourself. And then tell yourself, would the youth inside of me be proud of who I am now? If you can't
Wow.
answer yes to that, you should work on it, until you actually feel like the youth inside of you is proud of who you are. And don't, no, a lot of people would say, well, listen, I did, it's complex. I can't really say they'd be proud, but I don't think they'd be ashamed of me. But it's like, if you're at that point where you don't really know whether your youth would be proud of you or not, they probably wouldn't be.
Very good point. Yeah.
And then we got to balance that with the teenager and the elder that we're not yet or that we are. Would they be proud if they saw you're going towards that as an elder? If they saw you at a going towards adulthood, would the teenagers still be proud of you? Or are you settling down to get a BMW lease every 2 weeks for $523 because you want to go front, drive on the strip once in a while, waste half your money that you're making at a 9 to 5, like bank exchange corporation with Forex or crypto or something, but that's all tied in together with centralized economy these days with Bitcoin. then it's kind of crazy. A lot of people don't realize that they betray themselves so badly that they look in a mirror and they think they look good, but then that's not the only thing that counts. I'm using extreme examples because most people wouldn't be like, most people will be like, well, I'm not a supermodel in a three-piece suit making $1 million a week trading Forex and crypto. But these days, be very careful. It's not really related to what I'm saying, but it is in a sense, because don't jeopardize your future for crypto investments if you don't know who the person is. And really, on a best level, I've met some of my best friends in the world that have scammed me for that. So don't trust people when they tell you, give me numbers, give me this, give me that. Don't be The Beekeeper is a really good movie describing that, actually, and how an elder woman who does nonprofit work actually gets scammed by like there's calling centers that specialize in scamming people to get your money out of you, and then they'll clean out your bank accounts. So be careful with that, because that's the future as well too, of your family, of your legacy, of everything. Don't let anybody clean you out of money, whether it's for music or for investments or for anything. Don't trust the banks. Don't trust people that tell you I can make you money really quickly. Don't trust the YouTube ads. Don't trust anything that's corporately sponsored in a society in general.
Let's talk
Because if
about
you think about youth, don't do that.
I want to talk about the New World Order agenda and just like how that's shaping the human consciousness and the society in general.
Yeah, and that you know what they do? They hypersexualize youth at a younger and younger age. They play music out there which is promoted through radios that's demeaning women and objectifying them and making youth become more and more hypersexualized at a younger age. They've been doing that for a while, but it's failing. The plan is failing because women, revolutionary women, are reclaiming the ranks of music. A lot of people are saying, no, we're not going with that industry anymore. We're not running with the stupid lyrics and men calling other, goddesses and divine beings the B word. That applies to youth too. All these people are going to suffer in the hells that they've paved for themselves. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual. And I do believe that you pave the path to your own destiny with what you write, with what you speak, with what you think, especially if you're thinking consciously. And with actions, most of all, but words can be actions, especially in music.
Honestly, thank you, man. Thank you for explaining all that so well.
Yo,
Like,
thank you. Honestly, I would thank the youth for speaking through me on that one,
yeah,
because I know I can still feel that youth inside of me. I know who they are. And they were a prodigy, and they still are, and I'm still that person. There's nobody else who grew up into me. There's just me. So that youth doesn't exist anywhere else but in myself, in the grown-up version of who I am. And I know I still honor them every day. I try to.
mhm. Yeah, and also to kind of add into everything that we're talking about, like if you think of like how a human lives and experiences their life, throughout their life, they may have like some traumatic events that they experience, but then don't take the time to actually process what they actually experienced. So then they hold a lot of this traumatic energy within their nervous system and within their vessel. And then that carries on for the
That's
rest
entirely
of life.
accurate.
Yeah. So yeah, like the nervous system can hold so much trauma and so much damage. And if you don't take the time to like self-reflect and meditate on that energy and release yourself from those emotions that your soul's been wanting you to feel, but you just don't give yourself the time to actually like process those emotions and those energies of your past and all of like the say like the pain that you've been through and all that. If you're able to let those emotions come to the surface and then transmute them, you'll just become stronger overall, and you'll be able to direct yourself into the spaces that you want to bring yourself into. Because like you have to get light to like you can't be heavy and like bagged down by worldly possessions, or whether that's like emotional damage or emotional baggage,
Yes,
other people holding you
it's so
down.
true. So
Yeah.
true. And at the end of the day, Psyche from Yoon Academy explained it best a while ago when I met her the first time. And she's actually the real Psyche in the flesh. I could tell that because she was painting pictures of people. And she was entrapping evil within her paintings, but she was also creating, like, depicting decolonial scenes of reality in this corporate society. And she explained to me, she was studying in parapsychology, and she explained to me, the University of Amisquas, that everything at the end of the day, there's a giant charade in mental health that classifies all these different complex disorders and all these subcategories of disorders. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Everything stems from that. And I agree with that because everything is very complex in this reality. Everybody has a level of trauma at the end of the day. Even the people that cause trauma have levels of trauma that cause that trauma. So everything can be boiled down to CPTSD, but it doesn't mean everyone is on the same level. And like you said, if they don't deal with those emotions in a way, for me, the way I deal with those angry emotions and that bogged down, heavy feeling inside is by making music and directing my anger towards productive sources that actually need to have that outlet of anger. I direct my anger towards the corporations, towards evil musicians, towards people who are defrauding people, who are objectifying women, who are abusing youth. I direct my energy and my art towards that. But that's when I'm angry. When I'm not, I direct that towards romantic, notions of the divine feminine, towards, Afrofuturistic notions of youth, towards indigenous concepts of reconciliation and decolonization. So I have, there's a lot of different ways to channel, but artistically sometimes is one of the best currents to do. And everybody is an artist. Everybody, if you speak, you know that you can write poetry because a speech can be a poem. A haiku could literally just be a couple of words that you've uttered up that popped off the top of your head. Has to have a certain specific syllabic pattern, but then still, a lot of these poems that we make, they don't need to be structured according to a sequence, and everything can be poetic. Everything in life can be like that, especially with romance languages. It's like the romance is imbued within these languages. The way it flows sounds romantic.
Yeah, and honestly, like this just came to my head, but if you were to see like an elderly person, they're very kind of used to the idea that they may die at any second. So in turn, that makes them think closer to that childish curiosity and innocence within them of just
You're right.
how fleeting life can be. So yeah, like if you were to metaphorically die and transmute yourself, that means releasing all of your stored up energy within yourself and then reconnecting to that divine energy that's just infinite within you. And that's the youth that's within you. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
don't be afraid to die. Don't be afraid to let yourself go. But let yourself go so you can be reborn like a phoenix.
Jofael the Ubiquitous Gazer had a good quote on that on one of my tracks from Asam Prajnata, where it says, learn to die so you can
Yeah,
be reborn.
yeah,
So that's exactly what you're saying.
yeah. Honestly, that's an amazing place to leave off this episode. So thank you to everybody who tuned in, and I hope you got at least one thing out of this conversation. And yeah, it's just my advice
And
to
I want
anybody.
to
Hmm.
thank you infinitely to all the good parents out there, to all the youth, to everyone who's gone through everything. Thank you for bearing with us. And my apologies if I didn't address any issues. But thank you to everyone who's actually good towards what we're speaking about. And thank you to everyone who has the wherewithal within them to actually do that and to change if they realize they haven't been ideal.
Yeah,
Because nobody's perfect.
yeah. Hmm. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I bless the space. And yeah, honesty is essential.
Yes, definitely. Without trust, there's nothing, literally.
Yeah. All right, yo, peace out. Peace.
Peace.